Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Ahsoka Episode 5, Shadow Warrior. This is directed and written by Dave Filoni, and it stars Rosario Dawson and Ahsoka Tano, Natasha Lubardizo as Sabine Wren, Diana Lee Inosanto as Morgan Elsbeth, Ivana Shakno as Shin Hati, Ray Stevenson as Balin Skoll, David Tennant as Hu Yang, and Mary Elizabeth Winston as General Hera Syndulla. So before I get full deep into spoilers, because there's a lot to talk about here, this was another good episode. I think it was about 45 minutes in length or so, maybe a little bit longer, without the credits and all that. So we definitely got probably one of the longer episodes. Once we get into this episode, you'll realize why this had like this was meant to be directed by Dave Filoni. um, this is all his baby, really, and you can really tell here. Even sometimes to maybe the detriment of the pacing a little bit. Not that it makes it a bad, but for sure we're staying in this world for like the events that are happening in this episode. We're definitely basking in it and just taking our time with it. So the story itself may not move forward much, but thematically, all the things we are trying to explore and the character stuff definitely gets a lot better. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. So spoilers for episode 5, Shadow Warrior. We're gonna get right into it. So first thing that happens, we have Hera and company arrive to the map zone where they found Huyang, who once again, David Tennant is kind of like the heart of this show to me. Like his voice performance is great. I think for the most part, the droid itself, it's it's definitely a practical effect that really adds. Uh, it really makes the character feel very real. I would love to see some behind the scenes of David Tennant recording all this stuff, to see how much of the acting he's really doing, how much of a performance he's putting on, even as just a voice actor. So where we left off, the bad guys sconded off with Sabine. They got the map. They know where they're going. They vamoosed, so they got out of there, and they left Ahsoka. She fell off the cliff. Now, what does this mean? Because we saw Ahsoka kind of being in the world between worlds at the end of the last episode. We had good to see her talk to Anakin, but we heard a little sting, a little Vader sting. So I think this was an indication that there was going to be something happening, right? And I think we get right on that after we had that conversation where Hu Yang asked, like, he tells Hera, he asked them not to, he asked Sabine and Ahsoka not to get separated. And unfortunately they did, and that's why we are kind of where we are now. But yeah, meanwhile, in the world between world, Ahsoka and Anakin begin to have a conversation. Hayden Christensen is just so good at slipping back into this role of Anakin Skywalker. This is also the first time we've seen them have a conversation in live action, and we're gonna get a lot more first when it comes to live action in a minute. But yeah, Anakin wants to make sure whatever this version of Anakin is, if this is the Shadow Warrior in question from from the title of the episode, he wants to help Ahsoka finish her training. He has one final lesson for her, and that is to fight to stay alive. Because she, and this is kind of where the show gets a little confusing as to how you want to interpret all these things. Like, was Ahsoka physically somewhere else? Was Ahsoka in the water while this was happening? Like in her, through the force or in her head or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we begin to fight. We see some really cool lightsaber action, where we get to see multiple versions of Anakin's lightsaber throughout this episode. But he begins with his blue lightsaber, the one we know him from, the one that Ahsoka knew him from when they were Master and Padawan. One really cool detail is that Jason, who is Hera's kid, um, he's the one that notices that something's going on. He has this force sensitivity. Of course, Kanan being his dad, he's force sensitive. There's a comment that Huyang makes that his father was a Jedi. He tells, so like it is stuff. He tells one of the X-wing pilots, so it is stuff that they may not fully understand. But I love that Hera trusts him with his intuition and the feelings that he gets. So he's the one that notices and shows Hera, like, if you listen, you can hear a lightsaber battle in between the waves, like, with all that. That was a really fun moment. I'm glad Jason got a little bit of something to do here. So when we go back to the world between worlds, Ahsoka thinks she's won the fight, but Anakin, he kind of breaks the little path of light that they've been standing on with his lightsaber. And we get a flashback to a young version of Ahsoka, a live action version of young Ahsoka. I don't have the name of the person portraying Ahsoka as in the Clone Wars era, which is where we are transported. But this is why I'm saying that Filoni was the only person that could have directed this, because I think he wanted to bring a little bit of the Clone Wars to live action, and he did that here, which is really really cool. I really enjoy that. I really enjoy just the touch, like, uh, you know, diving into the Clone Wars era. I will say, because of probably budget constraints and stuff, it is all, and maybe also to give it more of an ethereal feeling. We don't see any enemies. We only see a few clones. We see them advancing. We see even a younger Anakin, which I love seeing. I love seeing Anakin in his Clone Wars battle armor, which is different. It's a little bit different to just his regular Jedi robes. So that was really fun to see in live action. Also, with his little swoop of hair, like, they de-aged him even further from what we had seen. So that was really cool. So that was really fun to see Anakin in his Clone War armor. That was really fun to see him in the war. To see how, for anybody that has never seen Clone Wars, you can see the effect that the war had on Ahsoka, and kind of what led her to her decision to eventually leave the Jedi Order, and also it informs as well, Anakin's feelings, and it explains some more of that. There's a really fun transition as Anakin's walking back into the battlefield, when he kind of flashes between Vader and Anakin, like he's got the full Vader outfit, and then the smoke clears, and then it's back to Anakin. That was really fun. That was really well done. Just a really cool visual, because Ahsoka, even if she is represented as a younger person at the moment, she knows, right? She has the full knowledge of what ends up happening. We then transition to Ahsoka fighting Death Watch in the Siege of Mandalore. So you can tell this is a different Ahsoka. It's still the same actress portraying Ahsoka, but it is an older version of the character, closer to what we saw in season 7 of the Clone Wars. If you haven't watched season 7, I highly recommend. The last 4 episodes are kind of like, they happen simultaneously with episode 3 of Revenge of the Sith. So I would recommend watching that. To me, it almost feels like episode 3.5 or something like that, where you can kind of watch, like, you can see events happening at the same time at some of those points. So that's really fun. To me, those 4 episodes feel like a full episode that needs to be watched. So even if you've never seen any of the Clone Wars, you can still watch those standalone. Really cool to see the Death Watch Mandalorian armor with, I almost thought we were gonna get a little bit, like, somebody else, that, like, another character that was in there, maybe even Maul, but I knew that was kind of a long shot. But yeah. And then after that, after Ahsoka kind of has learned her lesson, because Anakin's there, he tells her, like, I don't remember this fight, because he wasn't there. He was up at the temple, becoming Darth Vader, from what we saw in Revenge of the Sith, right? So they have a second fight, but this time he has a red saber. He has fully become Darth Vader, almost the same way he looked when he fought Obi, Obi-Wan in Mustafar. So that was really cool to see them, like a second fight between them. And yeah, just excellent stuff. It is just really fun to see a live version of Ahsoka and a live version of Anakin. And some of that stuff may be clouding my judgment because it's just stuff I thought I would never see in live action. But I think overall it looks good. Like, it doesn't look bad. Like, the fighting is good, the choreography is good. Like, it's just overall. I don't think it's anything that we've never seen before, and it definitely feels a little bit TV. But that's a good, like, to me. That's not a bad trade off to get to see all these things. But once again, that happened, like, that was a big part of the episode. So I would say the pacing for this one was very slow. It really feels like Filoni just really wanted to. It feels like he's crossing something off his list of things he wants to do in Star Wars, and that was to bring some of those Clone Wars moments to life in live action. So that was really fun. Um, so they find Ahsoka in the water. Ahsoka figures out kind of what happens to Sabine using, like, the Force and Jedi powers and stuff. And from there we get going pretty fast. I will say there's a lot of politics stuff that's happening, like with these senators, like not condoning the mission, and I really could care less about that. In the end, I feel like we know that Hera's gonna be okay overall with the, like. I don't think the Senate is gonna be like the thing that undoes the team of Hera. I am. I do hope that we get to see Seb at some point with the team. I want the whole gang to be back together. I think that'd be a really nice payoff for the season. But yeah, and after Ahsoka figures out what happens to Sabine, that she's off with Balin and Morgan Elspeth, she figures out, okay, well, the Purr girls are the only thing that they're the key. They're the only thing that could even remotely figure out how to even get where they're going, because they've done it before. They realize that that's their path. So Ahsoka tries to communicate with one of them. She sets that up. We get a really cool moment, which to me felt very practical, where the Purr girl opens its mouth, and Ahsoka and Huyang, like, they drive the ship into the mouth of the whale, and it closes. But to me, it all looks very practical, like they actually built just a giant mouth to have to have move up and down. So yeah, and from there, like, we get to see some of the New Republic ships coming to reprimand Hera, and then the X-wing pilots that went off on this unauthorized mission. But that's kind of besides the point, because once the Purgles start going, they're gonna jump, and we get this really cool jump to hyperspace, and that's where the episode ends. So, like I said, I think story wise, not a lot happened. It makes sense that this is the only way we could see that. Like, this is the only way we could have gone. I For a moment I thought Hera might also jump into the mouth of the whale, like on a different whale, maybe to like travel with them. But it makes sense that she wouldn't. She's got a lot of stake. She has a lot at stake. She also has Jason with her. So, like, yeah. So, highlights of the episode for me: the fights, the appearance of Hayden Christensen, who to me could come back and reprise his role forever and ever and ever. In different, like, I don't think I'll ever get tired of seeing him be either Anakin or Vader. Also, Jason, like, just the stuff that we get a lot of Force theme music whenever Jason's in the screen, which I love. I love seeing the relationship between Jason and Ahsoka. Like, they feel like they are family. So it does feel like Ahsoka, and because of Kanan's influence as well, probably she realizes that Jedi can be a different thing. They don't have to be the isolated, warriors without feelings, so without any relationships or ties to anything like that. So yeah, this was a good one. Fun stuff. I can't wait for the next one. I think we are literally gonna go where we have never been before in Star Wars, and that is a different galaxy. Like, everything that we know ever in Star Wars, as far as everything that's canon, has happened in a galaxy that we know. And next week, we're gonna go to somewhere we've never been, and that is very exciting. So yeah, we'll see what happens then. So Let me know what you thought about this episode down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here on the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.